Hi everyone, I'm April, and you're watching The Tangled Cat Speaks. It's been a while since I have fully introduced myself, and I know I have a few new subscribers. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you to everyone else who has been subscribed. I really appreciate everybody coming and spending a little bit of time with me. So like I said, I'm April. You may have been seeing her more recently because of where I'm been doing my podcast here in this chair, and she just has to be by my side whenever I'm on this chair. Usually she's back here, but for whatever reason she's here. she just shocked herself trying to touch her nose to my thumb. I'm sorry. Aggie is a 16-year-old calico that I rescued from the shelter when she was 10. She's old and sometimes very cranky, as I've mentioned, but most of the time she's just pretty lovely. Most of the time she's pretty loving. So, I am here in Rio Rancho, New Mexico, which is just to the north and west of Albuquerque, New Mexico, in the southwestern part of the United States. I've lived here most of my life. I am recently retired from a 25-year career as a 911 operator and dispatcher. I've got 3 children that are grown. My mom, I have mentioned, has been living with me for the past couple of years. She has Alzheimer's. My sisters and I take turns caring for her. And so as not to overwhelm ourselves, we've been doing 2-year rotations, I guess you could say. So she was just with me for a couple of years now. She's moved in with my sister. She literally just left yesterday. And this is just so that not any one of us feels overwhelmed, because being a caregiver can be overwhelming. And I'm actually going later today to go have lunch with my sister and my mom and my other sister, just so that it doesn't feel like such a harsh transition for my mom, or that she doesn't think that she's never going to see me again or anything like that. She's happy to be with my sister, but she was sad to leave me. And that's, that's natural, that's normal. But I'm going to go see her today. We're going to just hang out, spend some time together. And then after that, I'm going to go see my youngest son, my youngest child. He was recently injured at work. He broke both sides of his ankle, and now he's in this contraption that has 3 rings going around his lower leg, with rods and wires just going into his bone, basically to stabilize the ankle. Oh, calm down. It's all right. And so he was in the hospital for about a week and a half. And then he was in, they called it a rehabilitation center, but it was basically a nursing home, for a week and a half. He's a very active young man, and being stuck in this contraption, not to mention being stuck in a nursing home where he's literally 4 or 5 decades younger than every other resident there. So he was going stir crazy. He was just feeling anxious because he can't move. Where are you going? What are you trying to do? Oh, okay. Well, he's going to be wearing that contraption for several weeks, maybe even months. Then after that, he'll have physical therapy and all this stuff. So anyway, he's home now, and I'm going to go visit him. This will be the second time visiting him now that he's home. Because of the contraption that he has on his leg, he is mobile. But the healing process isn't any faster if he were to have had internal pins and plates and screws and all of that. It just would have been, if you had gotten the pins and the plates and the screws internally, he would still not be mobile. He would still be bedridden, basically. But with this outer contraption, it's stabilized in such a way that he can put weight on it. He can walk for short distances. As long as he doesn't overdo it and he remembers he's got to rest, he's got to elevate and heal, allow himself to heal. But this was the better choice for him so that he wasn't completely bedridden, because he was just going out of his mind. So poor guy, he's gonna be fine, but now it's he has to take a little bit of a different look on his immediate future, just because he was planning on starting a firefighting internship this month, actually, now in March. And obviously that's gonna have to go by the wayside for a little while. He's not gonna be fully healed for, they said fully healed back to normal, at least 7 to 8 months, at least. So, and he still can always do that, but now he's going to be trying to focus on taking online classes and stuff so that he can continue his education while he's stuck at home. So there's that. What else about me? I knit, I crochet. I love books. I listen to audiobooks. I always have at least 3 or 4 books going at once. Audiobook, physical books, ebooks, books, all over the place. I do dabble in designing knit patterns. I think I've got 6 or 7 patterns. They're on lovecrafts.com. I lost my train of thought. Like, that's unusual. But they're on lovecrafts.com. And speaking of that, I have been working on one. If you've watched my podcast, you will kind of know that the patterns that I design, most of them have something to do with songs that I have enjoyed. My favorite singer is Avi Kaplan. He used to be the bass singer in the a cappella group Pentatonics. He's no longer with them. He's kind of doing some solo stuff, and his solo music is just so beautiful and inspirational to me, and I adore it. And you're kind of sliding. Well, okay, but I got things to do, not just hold you. She's got to be up here. You're gonna slide. See, I told you. I gotta use my arms. I can't hold you like a baby. Go up. Thank you. Thank you. Anyway, so I love his solo music, and I actually tried designing a few things here and there, but when his music came out, it just like ideas started happening, and they were basically references, not references, like how I interpreted his music, and it was just like, oh, I see that in my head. So I came up with a few designs, and I just finished another one. I haven't written it up, but I've got it all knit up, and this is for Avi Kaplan's song called Otherside. Now, this song talks about being called or wanting to go to the other side. Basically, his music tends to be about overcoming situations. He talks a lot about his own mental health and how music for him is that thing that keeps him stable and really gives him hope and peace and gets him through those hard times. And that's the song Otherside is basically moving from one place to another in your heart or in your mind, or Maybe it's physical, however you want to interpret it. But I think for him it was more emotional. His song does mention colors. It's a very beautiful, poetic kind of song. And I wanted to design a shawl with this theme of crossing over or moving from one thing to another. But I couldn't bring myself to use the colors that he was singing about because red, green, and silver felt very Christmassy, and I didn't want this to be a Christmas-themed shawl. So I just went with the idea, with the overall theme of the song of crossing over. So what I've come up with is, it's huge. I made this with 100% yak yarn sport weight. It was the Bijou Basin Ranch yarn. I did it in the light gray and the dark gray. And I started from one end, and I have a seed stitch border all the way around. And I've got these stockinette areas broken by these kind of, I don't know what it's called, like a star stitch. These rows of stars are kind of hard to see on the camera, but they were a certain width apart, and then as the shawl goes along, they get closer and closer and closer together, and then at the midpoint they switch, and suddenly you've got the color that was once the background being the accent color, and vice versa. And so it goes and goes and goes, and then they get wider and wider, and it's so big, wider and wider and wider, and again ending in the seed stitch. I haven't quite measured it yet, but this has got to be at least 80 inches, maybe 90. It is warm. It has got a little bit of weight to it because it is sport weight, and it is, I don't remember how many skeins I used. I think I used maybe 3 of each color. I haven't weighted. I haven't taken the measurements or the dimensions or anything. But it's so pretty, and I love how it's going to look when you've got the two opposite sides in the front. And it's, I would say it's about maybe 25 inches wide. But I love it. It is so snuggly. It is so cozy. And you know, it's my homage to a beautiful, beautiful song. So there's that. I haven't written it up. I need to do that. It's a little bit, it's been a little bit difficult because hold on, I have an alarm on my phone. Dismiss. That was the alarm reminding me to go to lunch with my sister and my mom because I'm forgetful. I have to use an alarm for everything. What was I saying? I don't know what I was saying. But I really enjoyed making this shawl. I hope that I can get it typed up. I think that's what I was talking about. I hope I can get it typed up soon. I don't have a computer at home, as I've mentioned before. Everything that you see that I do on the internet is done with just my cell phone. So I'm going to need to get to the public library at some point, get that typed up. I need to get a few really good pictures taken of it. And again, like I said, I got to get the dimensions and make sure go back to my notes and look at how many skeins of each color I used and everything. Now I've got Aggie fluff in my nose. Thanks. So that might be a while in getting it published, but it's fine. I'm so happy with this. And I'm going to a third concert for Avi Kaplan. This is going to be in Englewood, Colorado, which is just outside of Denver. And I'm scared. I bought the VIP package, which means I'll get to meet him. And there is a huge part of me that wants to give this to him. Just a huge, huge part of me that just wants to, give him this and let him know he was the inspiration. And I would say that this is a unisex pattern. I don't know that it's something he would wear, but I just want to give it to him. But I don't know. I'm like shy and embarrassed, and what is he gonna? I don't know. But I don't know why I'm so nervous to meet him, because I've met him on the other 2 concerts, and both times I was a blubbering idiot. So I don't know how I feel about seeing him for a 3rd time. Hopefully I'll be less awkward, but I might even be more awkward if I'm trying to present something that came from my heart to him, as opposed to just being like, can I have a picture? So I don't know. We'll see about that. I don't know how that's going to go. So that was part of my Whip Down 2020, because I said I'm trying to go back to my old projects, anything that I've started before 2020, and get them done during 2020. So this one I actually started designing and knitting up July, August, just after the song was released. Now it didn't take me that long to knit it. I mean, it did, but it wasn't like I was knitting constantly on it. You know, I mentioned that I got sidetracked right around September, October, trying to knit for Advent and Christmas, and then all kinds of things happened, and it just kind of got put by the wayside. I wasn't knitting on it as much, and then when I was only knitting on it at work, and it would get busy, so I would only get 2 or 3 rows done here and there, and this, like I said, like I've shown you, this is huge. So it took me a while. There were actually several months that I didn't work on it at all. But it's done, and I'm super excited. So that was part of my Whip Down 2020. So that's one thing done. Speaking of Whip Down, hold on, I'm going to bend down because I forgot to bring this up here. There was a shawl. This is the red velvet shawl. I don't remember the name of the designer, but I had started this, feels like 8,000 years ago, but I want to say this might be September, October-ish. It's a crochet shawl. I will put the name of the shawl and the designer up here. It's a crochet shawl using a fingering weight and a mohair held together. And I'm doing it on, oh, I don't know if you can see this. Let's see. How do they do it? Make it all fancy like? It's an H. What is that? A 5 millimeter? 5? I'm blind and then I'm trying to read backwards. A 5 millimeter US H hook. And I just use the Boy brand. You see that? These are what I learned on, and I love them. I've tried other other hooks, and I think I've showed you my wooden ones that I had specifically made for me. I don't use those very often because I'm afraid to break them, because I have broken one and now I'm missing one and I can't replace it. Anyway, struggles. But I don't feel comfortable using the ones with the soft, grippy, wide handles. I need this. And I particularly like Boy as opposed to other aluminum hooks because of the way the hook is. Some of them have like a flat edge. I don't know how to explain it, but it's shaped just a little bit different, and I don't like that. And I know it's because this is what I learned on. This is what my hands are comfortable using. I don't split the yarn with these hooks, where other hooks I do. And it's just because this is what my hand feels comfortable with. So I love my Boy needles and our hooks, and I've got so many of them. Anyway, back to the next whip that I'm going to be working on for my Whip Down 2020. I got most of this done, and honestly, the only reason why I had to put this one aside, I did mention this in another podcast 8,000 years ago. Okay, maybe just a couple months. But I was working on it and I ran out of mohair. And then I went to Knit Picks to get some more of their Aloft, and they were out. It was back ordered, and it was back ordered for like months. And then literally just today, I thought about it. I'm like, what is going to be my next whip that I'm going to pull out of hibernation and work on? And I thought about this one, and then I'm like, oh, I forgot to see if they have yarn. It's probably on back order again, because everybody loves the mohair, and it's gray, so it's a very light gray, so people are always getting that color. And I thought I probably missed it, because I think it was something like November that the mohair was supposed to be back, and I never got an email, as a matter of fact, Knit Picks, because I did put the notify me thing on there. Anyway, so it was supposed to have been like the end of November that it was supposed to be back in stock, but I forgot until just today. And so I was like, please let it be there, please. And it was. So I just ordered a couple more balls of it. And I even paid to have it expedited, because I really want to get this done. I don't want it to sit there and languish anymore. So this is what it looks like so far. And I'm doing kind of a fade thing. It's so soft and so pretty. The yarns I'm using are, besides the Aloft from Knit Picks, these are Pandia's Jewels in her snug base, and I've got 3 colors going on. The first one was this. What is the name? Hold on. Give me a moment. I don't know. I've got the tag squished up in the center of the cake. This is Crystallized Bone. Let me get my hands. So this is upside down. Pandia's Jewels. On her snug base, Crystallized Bone is the first color, which is this. And I've already used as much as I'm going to use of it. Very pretty gray undertone with these speckles of blues and some yellows, a little bit of pinks, gray. So that's the Crystallized Bone. The other one that I've got, and I've already finished using this color as well. I'm not going to have enough to get another row in. I think this is Event Horizon. Yep, that's right. This one is Event Horizon, and it's almost very similar. It's just got more of the pinks and blues thrown in with over the gray base. And then the last one is, I'm so awkward, is American Graffiti. And I haven't started this ball yet, but I'm about to add it in. And this one is very wild in comparison to the other two. My lighting is atrocious, but super cool. Very, very excited. And holding it with the gray mohair is just giving it such a soft transition. I'm hoping that adding this next color is also going to be very soft, but I'm loving it. I hadn't done crochet in a long, long time, and now it just seems like I've got quite a few crocheted finished objects. So this is going to be my next 2020 whip down as soon as my mohair gets expedited to my door and they place it in my little hand. So I'm just waiting for that. This is the next project I will be working on for that. So backtracking to finished objects. We saw the Otherside shawl. I only have one other finished object this month. This was because I was driving back and forth to the hospital, spending time with my son while he was laid up, and then the nursing home, and it was just a lot of drive time. So I didn't have a lot of knitting time. And no, I don't know if you noticed, but my Otherside shawl, I had the ends tucked in. I don't on this shawl. If you remember, I had 3 balls of yarn that I dyed in the same dye bath, but they were 3 different original colors. I overdyed them. One was yellow, one was a pink speckly yarn, and the other was a baby blue. And I threw them all into a burgundy dye bath, and I created my own gradient, or an ombre kind of look. So this is the Sabrina shawl by Maria Hernandez, I believe. She is Made in Brooklyn on Instagram. And she had 2 versions of this. One had a less lacy body, all of the mesh that's there in the middle. There was a less open version of it. I chose to do the more open version because I hadn't done a really lacy, delicate project in a long time. So these yarns are fingering weight, but the colors came out so pretty, and the way that they fall in the pattern itself, just, it looks like I planned it, and I really didn't. I love it, and it is so sheer. Look at that. That was weird. But I got my ends dangling, but that's okay. I'm going to get those tucked in as soon as I'm done podcasting. Before I go to lunch with my mama, I'm going to do it. I'm going to get them tucked in. I think I've got 6 projects that have been done for months, just kind of stacked in my bedroom. The only thing they need is to have the ends tucked in, and I haven't gotten around to it. But I will do that soon. Maybe I'll take those to work and just kind of stitch along. So that is a Sabrina shawl. Those are the only 2 objects I got finished. I did start a few things. One of the things being a pair of socks. I mentioned Cia Spod, the Cia Spod podcast. Cia is doing a free sock 2020 is what her hashtag is. And she's looking for free sock patterns, and she's asking that you use stash yarn. And she recommended a pattern. I hadn't started that pattern. I was hoping to do 2 pairs of socks this month, but I hadn't started that pattern. I can't remember what the name of it is. But I never got to that. I never started that one. And I started another pattern. She released a pattern for Valentine's Day. And I mentioned these. And I haven't worked on them since, I don't even know if I showed you guys this far. I might have. But I think I showed you the color combinations. So this is where I'm at. I've got a cuff and a leg. I'm actually starting on the heel flap right now. But this is where I'm at. I haven't worked on them, so I'll try to work on these throughout March. Now that I don't have as much driving that I need to do. So those will continue. They are called the Spring Heart Socks on Ravelry. She had posted them temporarily, I think, for free. I think it was temporary. For like a limited time, you can get them for free. So that's what I chose them for my... That might take a little bit, not too long, because I'm actually almost done with the next project, but I want to really get the next project done. Excuse me, I'm coming in again. I really want to get this next project done because it is a test knit. Her name is Julie, I don't know how to pronounce her last name, Mackesy or McKessie. She's Nalu Knits on Ravelry and Instagram. And she had put out a call out on Facebook to test knit her design. It's a yoked pullover, and I thought, I looked at all of the requirements for the yarn and everything, and I thought I could do that. I think I have yarn in my stash. Wow. Whoa. I'm using only stash. I haven't bought any yarn except for the knit picks that I just ordered to finish that shawl. And something else that I'll get to in a minute. But for this shawl, it's all from my stash. And I looked at all her numbers and I was able to put colors together. I should have brought that other bag. Anyway, so this is what it looks like so far. I've got the yoke done and it is so pretty. The contrast colors here are all some old Madeline Tosh light that I had. It was a shawl that I didn't care for, but I'd gotten the yarn through Jimmy Bean's Wools. It was a kind of like a knit along. Every month you got a different color to go into the pattern. And I liked the pattern and I liked the yarn. I just didn't like the two together. So I had these yarns sitting for a couple years now. And they were little minis. They were, I think, 17 grams for each mini. And you got one a month. And this particular sweater is using a similar yarn. I actually think it calls for Madeline Tosh light, if I recall. Anyway, so it's holding them double. Now, since I only had these little 17 gram minis, I went through them all and tried to see if I could pair them together to get them to add up to what I needed, and it worked out. It really, really did. So this is marling going on in here. It was like a creamy orange, and then it was a white with some orangey speckles. So I held those double. This happened to be two similar aqua blues. One was a little more green than the other. And I held those together so you can see where the one is more green, where it kind of shows up a little more than this one. But this is also marling. This is more marling. This one is like more of a salmony, pinky orange. And then it was like a cream colored yarn with green speckles and a little bit more of this salmony color in it. So those are the two that got marled there. This one was a white and blue yarn, white and blue speckled yarn with a solid, like a celery green color that I held together there. And then this one was a white, pink, and black speckled yarn held together with a variegated plummy color. So it really, really worked out. This color, this here, is also Madeline Tosh light. These were two skeins, excuse me, I got fluff. Two skeins of yarn that I had bought ages and ages ago, and then I think it was like a de-stash somebody was having on Ravelry. Excuse me. So I bought them, and they were just two colors that they're completely different, and I wish I had those skeins, but maybe next time when I show the finished thing, I'll have those prepared like a professional. Anyway, so it's a gray. I don't know if you can, let me get up close. Here we go. If you kind of look here, you can see there's some pink speckles. It's like a light gray that has some pink and blue speckles all over it, a little bit of green speckles. And then it's paired with a cream and black speckled yarn. And it just kind of made it a real pretty neutral. Now this main color here, which I'm starting the sleeves, is actually Malabrigo Mechita, and this is the Eggplant colorway. And I had bought this yarn for something else that I never ended up making. So I had 3 skeins of this. So it calls for, I had way more than enough yardage to make the sweater, but I was thinking I wanted to make the sweater a little bit longer and I wasn't sure if I would have quite enough if I wanted to make the body a little bit longer. So I wanted to do the sleeves first and then do the body and adjust the length that way. So if I need to add any of this contrasting edging color here to the bottom, then I can, or figure something else out. But I wanted to make sure that my sleeves were the right length. Then I could adjust the body. So I chose to do it in that order. But it fits and I love it. This here is a stitch marker that I got when I ordered something. let me show you up close. It's a rabbit, and that'll make sense when I explain. But it's adorable. This is a little ball of felted fiber. But anyway, going back to this test knit, I'm loving it. It fits perfect. I can't wait to have this done. And it's probably going to have to sit all summer before I can actually wear it, because it's starting to warm up a little bit. Like the early mornings are cold, but the afternoons are too hot to be wearing this kind of sweater. But it's going by really fast. It's on US 9, which I think is a 5.5 millimeter. And I was using my Xiaogu needles for the body, but now that I've decreased down, I'm just using some cheap wooden ones that I got off of eBay 8,000 years ago. But it works. I'm enjoying it. It's going by actually rather quickly, so I should be done with it really soon. But I'm enjoying it. This is, I think, the only ever second test knit that I've ever done. And the other one was a shawl. I'm excited. I love this. I love it. It's so pretty. I can't wait to wear it. So that's basically what I've been doing as far as knitting. Aggie, you're contemplating something. I can see it. She's trying to jump. She's trying to figure out the tripod is in her way. So that's all my knitting, crocheting, yarny plans. So I mentioned that stitch marker that had the rabbit on it. I can't remember her name. I want to say Kate, but I don't remember. From My Wool Mitten, one of the podcasts that I love watching. She mentioned this shop and that they were having some Angora yarn. Tailspin Farm. And I've never, ever knit with Angora. I've never even touched Angora. I don't know what it feels like. I wanted some. She posted that that Tailspin Farm was doing this on the My Wool Mitten Instagram account. She posted that they were doing this, just to let everybody know that her friend was doing it. And she's doing these different colored minis. And I'm going to take them out, but I really don't want to. They're different colors. All from her Angora rabbits. So this is actually the first time that I am touching it outside of the package. Oh, it is so squishy and soft. There's a little bit of a halo. Oh, look at, and I would say, it doesn't say the weight of the yarn on the package, but I would say that this is probably a worsted. And it's got the different natural shades. This one's got some brown mixed in with the gray. This is more like a cool gray. A darker version of the cool gray. Some more of that brown gray. A white. Look at how pure that white is. And then some more of this gray. Like a medium. I love it so much. Let's see. So it seems like it's kind of a worsted weight, maybe a DK, just by looking at it. All it says is it's 6 20-yard mini skeins, 2-ply 100% Angora. So this is 120 yards. Now the stitch marker makes sense. There's a rabbit on it, or a bunny, and the little blue ball is a little felted ball of Angora fiber. It's a super cute stitch marker. Like I said, I'm not supposed to be buying yarn. The Knit Picks Aloft, the mohair that I was buying, is simply to finish a project, and I only bought enough to finish that project. So that was kind of a must. This is definitely not a must, but I did say that even though I'm not buying, technically not buying yarn, if there is something that I wouldn't otherwise purchase or have purchased, something that is very unique to what I already own, then I might consider getting it. And I had to get this because Angora. It is something I have never had, something I never thought I would have, and I'm gonna be. It actually smells really good. She must have washed it in something yummy because it smells delicious. Like, it smells a little like eucalyptus. Anyway, that's weird. I'm gonna admit that I went a little crazy because I didn't want to just make something with that. I don't know what I could have made with that. So I bought 4. I bought 4 of these packages, and they're all the same with all of these different colors. I want to make a beanie and a pair of mittens, not fingerless mittens, like full on cover the whole hand mittens. So I bought 4 so I could be sure to have enough, but I'm so excited. I don't know when I'm going to get to these. I want to get to these really soon just because Angora. Oh, yes, but sorry for all the crinkling. Oh, I'm so excited. So Tailspin Farm and her beautiful Angora yarn. So that's all the yarny stuff. I'm done talking about yarny stuff this podcast. It's actually a much shorter podcast, obviously, because I didn't do a whole lot of knitting because my son went and broke his skeleton. So books. Have my notes here. The Crafty Toads is doing their kind of read along book club kind of thing, and I haven't been keeping up with that. I am still on the book that they did for January. I liked it so much. I had gotten it from the library and I was already into it. Maybe about 50 pages in, I was like, nope, I want to buy this. So I went ahead and bought it on my Kindle. So I've slowly been reading that. I didn't read their February book because I'm still stuck on the January book, which is fine because I knew that the February book, I don't remember the name, but I knew that that book wasn't going to be something in my taste. So I've slowly been reading that, mostly on my lunch break at work or a few pages here and there before bed. So 10,000 Doors of January by Alex Harrow. What did I finish? I finished Heirs of the Body by Carola Dunn, which was part of the Daisy Dalrymple mysteries. I just learned something. I don't know if this has always been a thing or if this is something new, but I just learned it myself. I haven't had Audible very long, but I found out that you can get books that you have listened to or that you have purchased from Audible within the year. You can exchange those credits, so you can give the book back and have a new credit. And there were a couple of books that I had bought recently that I listened to and I liked, but I didn't necessarily need to keep them for all time. So I went and I exchanged a couple of them, and I returned this book to the library because it was on hold, and it would have taken me forever to get this book again at my public library. So I went ahead and exchanged a credit on Audible and got Heirs of the Body on audiobook, which I love because I love the woman who reads these stories. She's just got the perfect voice for the series, the books, all the characters. She does it so well, and I love it. So I finished that. I finally finished all of the Goddess books by Aimee Carter. The Goddess Inheritance was the last one. So I finished all of those. It was a nice, fun little quick, easy read. I really enjoyed all of those. Again, they were based on the main gods, the Olympian gods in Greek mythology, but loosely based on them. But it was still fun. It was, like I said, just kind of a young adults snacky kind of set of books. It was simple, and it wasn't something that I needed to concentrate too hard on. I really, really enjoyed them. I also listened to a book called Sisters. I got it on Audible. It was kind of short. It was by Dervla McTiernan. Now, the woman who reads this book on the audio, I love her accent. I love it so much. Scottish, I think. Sometimes I get Scottish and Irish a little confused, but I love it. And her voice just was so good. The story was so good. And so I ended up going back into Audible as soon as I finished it. It was called Sisters. And I went back into Audible and I looked at the author to see what else she has. And it turns out she's got 2 other books, and they are both read by this same person. So I'll get to hear her voice again and again, because there's 2 books. And then I was watching, I've been catching up on podcasts lately, and I want to say that it was Crafty Toads, but I'm not 100% positive on that. But one of the podcasts, probably Crafty Toads, mentioned this book Sisters as well, and they mentioned the other 2 books, and I'm like, hey, I read that, I listened to that one. And then they said that they think the other 2, the ones that I found, I don't remember the names of them, but the other 2 are related, like it might be a series. So I don't know. I'm very excited about that. I don't know if they're like series or if they're just like crossover characters. I'm not sure, but I'm super excited because I loved the first book. I love how the person who read it, I loved how it was written. I loved the story. Hooked. So that was Sisters. I mentioned that I tend to stop at the free cart at my public library and pick up old books that are just there for the taking. And years ago, I had read a Barbara Michaels book. It was called The Dancing Floor, and I really loved that one. And it was a mystery. She's kind of like one of those mystery, kind of like gothic mystery romance storytellers. And the one that I had read ages and ages ago was called The Dancing Floor, and it kind of centered itself around English gardens. And I remember loving it, and I went on this big tangent of looking up English gardens, and I even found another author. Sorry, I'm getting off point here, but it led me to another author called Anthony Eglin, who did some cozy mystery. You know, it's like a amateur sleuth murder mysteries that have to do with English style gardens. So anyway, led me down this Barbara Michaels book, led me down this little rabbit hole of books. And sadly, I haven't seen a new book by Anthony Eglin in quite a long time. I really liked that series. I think there was 5 or 6. Anyway, Barbara Michaels. So there I was at my library looking through the free cart, and I saw a book called The Sea King's Daughter by Barbara Michaels. And I was like, well, I remember liking her other book. I'm going to go ahead and get it. And it's an old beat up paperback. And because I had just gotten off of the Amy Carter Olympian Greek gods, goddesses kind of theme, and I saw this, and I saw that it had something to do with Greece, Crete, Poseidon, King Minos, the Minotaur. Those were all kind of referenced in the blurb. So I've been enjoying it. I started it on Valentine's Day. I love Star Wars, the movies. I've never read any of the canon of books that have been written over the years. I know some of them are movie novelizations, but there's other stuff in between that have been written that are considered canon backstories and filler stories and stuff like that for Star Wars. I've never read them. And so I ended up down this rabbit hole. I don't know how I started on it. I honestly don't. I have no idea how this search even started. But I found that there's this whole list of books and I wanted to read them. And the first one happens to be on audio, and it's kind of a shorter story, and it's the audio drama. So it's a more acted out story as opposed to just reading verbatim. And I liked it. It was called Dooku, Jedi Lost, which is basically the backstory of Count Dooku. I'm listening to that now. It's a kind of a short book. I'm almost done with it, actually. So I want to see if I can go down this list of books and just here and there, maybe take it through the whole year and just go through these Star Wars books and get some of these backstories and side stories. And I don't know, it just seemed like something to do because why not? Like I said, I don't know how I ended up on that tangent, but I did. So that's what I'm doing. I'm still working on these last couple of books, and then we'll talk about more next time. What else? I haven't been watching a whole lot of TV. Masked Singer came back for season 3, so I've been trying to keep up with those as they come out. Loving it. So I just finished all of Vera. I'm caught up. I just got to finish this last episode of season 10, I think. I'm loving it. I love this show. I just adore it. But I love murder mysteries. And I think actually I need to watch Shetland. I think there's another season. I want to say season 5 of Shetland is out. So I need to watch that. So that's what I'm going to be doing with myself. This is getting a little bit longer than I had thought. But I need to get this all edited and uploaded. And then I need to go have lunch with my mom and my sister. And then I'll probably go see my son later. But I do thank you again for joining me, spending time with me. Whether you're new or you're returning, I appreciate you coming back. This is something that I just do for fun. And I love that there are people out there who want to watch me and share my experiences with knitting and yarn and books and whatnot. I do appreciate you guys spending some time with me. It makes me so happy. So I will see you next time, and happy knitting, happy crafting, and I hope the weather is perfect wherever you are. And Aggie says goodbye too, but she's asleep. So she's saying it in her mind.